We need to stop buying games on launch day. It sounds so easy, doesn't it? The excitement, the anticipation of taking your first steps into the game, the feeling of playing something new at the same time as your friends is amazing. I used to love getting games at launch, but it doesn't quite feel the same anymore. The hardest thing I've had to do is convince myself not to buy games on launch day anymore. So, what's changed? I started to become overwhelmed. Every year there are games that are released on top of one another. Usually this happens in the autumn months between September to November, but it also happens around February to April as well. This leads to an overlap problem where 3 or 4 game releases come out in a 2-week period. You don't have the time to check them all out, but you end up buying them anyway. If you're anything like me, you love to check out new games and new experiences, so it's hard to say no. This would lead me to being half interested in the current game I was playing. I would actively be thinking about one whilst playing the other. Being overwhelmed sucked because I simultaneously wanted to play everything, but I would end up playing nothing. And I'm sure you felt this way too. I didn't used to feel this way. With the rise of social media, it feeds us information about a game prior to launch, and there's so many games, so there's a lot of information and you can't help but be drawn to it. Simply put, a game looks cool, I want to play it. A real monkey brain approach. I currently haven't played a single minute of 007 First Light because it looked really cool, so I bought it. But it's been 3 months or so since it launched, and I'm still convincing myself I'll play it eventually. The realization I came to about most of this feeling is that it's about obligation. It's the same way we treat our backlogs. We feel obligated to play a game because we have spent money on it, which will be even higher when we buy multiple games at launch and spend loads of money doing so. You feel overwhelmed because I have to play this is the thought that comes to your head. But then you see another cool game, you buy it, and you get caught in the same cycle. Believe me, I've been there, so I had to stop. In 2026 alone, I've bypassed Saros, Crimson Desert, Resident Evil Requiem, Mouse PI, Pragmata, and more. I had to train my brain not to give in. Does that mean I don't want to play any of those games? No. After missing out and going through that initial FOMO period of a week, I didn't feel an overwhelming pull or a desperate need to get those games right away. What I also did, which I can recommend to you all, is that you wishlist the games that you like. You might feel like you're adding them to your backlog, but you aren't. And you're just putting them on a list, and it's completely free, and then you don't even have to worry about it, and you can check back on that wish list later. With the cost of gaming trending upwards these days, it might be something worthwhile to do, which is also another factor of why I chose to avoid games on launch day. That is game prices. I can make the statement, games are too expensive now, and you'll all cheer in agreement. It's not even $70 anymore. It's $80 on some platforms, or it's $50 on others with dynamic pricing. Dollars, pounds, whatever it is, it's just expensive. We're being charged to get the game a few days early, and then charging even more for a deluxe or a special version of the game, which adds more content or takes it away depending on the version. And it's become a significant investment to play games at launch now, even if you just buy the standard edition of a game. The more hardcore among us that get through a lot of games in a year, $80 on 3 or 4 games a year is manageable, but $80 of 3 and 4 games that come out in a 2-week period is a significant damager to your bank account. How many times can you honestly say that a game has actually lived up to the price that you paid for it at launch? And how many times have you kicked yourself when you've seen it on sale later down the line for a really good discount and you wish you waited? The easy fix to this intertwined feeling of being overwhelmed and the price of things is to just wait. All of this is common sense in practice. but it means that we have to be honest with ourselves to stop and wait. Sales are constant nowadays. Most games will drop in price after a few months, and suddenly that game that doesn't look worth $80 is looking really enticing at the price of $30. I have a friend who rarely buys games but will wait until they're really discounted to play. And there's a really cool community out there called r/patient gamers on Reddit for people who wait a year or multiple to check out games and then they talk about them. I definitely recommend checking it out. I think a lot of us have been trained throughout the years to get a game at launch and hand over our money before the game even earns it. And I think it's time to stop. And I can confidently say, after skipping a few games this year, and the ones that I've mentioned earlier being Crimson Desert, Saros, and the rest, I've saved myself a serious amount of money and not thought too much about them. Does that mean I don't want to play them at all in the future? No, but I've learned to be patient. However, it's important to remember that if you buy one game and wait for 5 others, it's not an all or nothing type of situation. If you decide to give into that buzz for the one game you are genuinely excited for and can't wait for, then that's fine. But it stops you paying full price for a load of games you might forget about a month later. I keep circling back to waiting and being patient because waiting, in my opinion, makes games better in 2 ways. The first and most obvious reason is to do with patches, bug fixes, and extra content being added to the game so you get to play the best version of it. The second is it makes the experience of playing a game better because you are not being told what to enjoy. And the second one I want to dive into more here. Nowadays, people are trying to rush to get their opinion out on a game rather than sitting and digesting what they have just played. They want to throw it up on social media so everybody can discuss about it. For me, I enjoy being in a bubble away from the outside noise of social media and also recency bias that is rampant during the launch window of a game. It can and has influenced me before because if you see 1 or 2 comments saying a game is bad when you're playing it, it can creep up behind you and make you feel like, well, what's the point? This game's bad. What's the point of me continuing playing this? And this is amplified during the first week of a game launching, so I want to avoid it completely. Ignorance is bliss. Being in that bubble also allows me to connect with a game better, allowing me to form my own opinion, but it also allows me to be a little bit more forgiving of a game's flaws while also identifying its biggest strengths. Take, for example, Ghosts of Yotei. I spent my time platinuming the game a few months ago after launch, and I was able to enjoy it without people telling me it's basically Ghost of Tsushima 1.5 or that Ghost of Tsushima is better, because reading those comments would have significantly dampened the way I saw the game. I also enjoy waiting to play a new title away from the launch day because I'm not rushing through it to talk to my friends about it, because sometimes we don't complete the game at the same time, so we can't really discuss anything. And a lot of those conversations are quite base level and shallow because you don't want to spoil gameplay elements or rarely talk about the story for spoilers, so it doesn't feel that good. Waiting till later allows you to talk with them at a deeper level and really go into a conversation of what you love and don't love about a game. The same way I did with my Returnal video on this channel. All of this is to say, stepping out of the launch window of a game, even by a couple of weeks, has genuinely made the experience of playing a game much better. And I think the reason many of us older gamers are attached to the idea of playing a game at launch is tied to a nostalgic feeling. I remember going to my local game store on the release day, opening the case and reading the manual on the way home in the car, learning about the game, the controls, the extra bits of lore. And once I was home, I'd put the game in straight away and I just enjoyed it. The whole day was an experience. There was also a desperation to get the game on that day in case it went out of stock, because before the days of digital, there was a drive and need to get a game, because if you didn't, you wouldn't be able to play it for weeks. I can remember countless nights I would be up until 6 a.m. after picking up a game at midnight for a midnight launch, and it was the best feeling in the world. In today's world, that experience has almost been completely removed. We are now just waiting for the game to unlock on whichever platform we are about to play it on. We don't have to step out of the comfort of our own homes. I miss the ritual. It's gone now. So waiting isn't really losing out on that anymore. It's different. For me, it's better. But do you miss it? Or are you happy to wait now and not play games at launch? Let me know down in the comments section. And as always, like the video, subscribe if you want to see more. This is Spinach Jimbo, and I'll see you guys next time.